Hi, if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that we cover all major AI and technology companies so that you don't have to. We sit through these earning calls, we read the filings, we pull out what matters. But every now and then, a company delivers an earning that is bigger than the quarterly results. And honestly, this SpaceX call was one of those moments. Whether you own SpaceX or not, whether you're bullish on the company or you're completely skeptical, I genuinely believe this call is worth catching up on because in a single earnings call, SpaceX talked about Starships, global internet infrastructure, AI, Grok, 100 billion annual revenue run rate, and even factories on the moon. It sounds crazy, but by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why investors are paying attention. Let's get into it. At first glance, this looks like another earnings report. But the deeper I got into the call, the more it felt like a roadmap. Not just for the next quarter, not just for the next year, but for where SpaceX thinks the future is going to be. Here is the big idea: SpaceX is not just a launch company, it is trying to become an infrastructure platform. Launch is one layer, Starlink is another layer, and now AI is the third layer, and the moon is the long term vision. Let me start with Starship. Because Starship is the base layer, Elon is not just talking about a bigger rocket. He's talking about a much bigger system, a system that could move way much mass into orbit. Let's listen in where he explains this scale to us.
Thank you. So it's been another milestone year for SpaceX so far. We're making great progress developing a fully and rapidly reusable, reliable rocket with Starship. We're connecting millions more people globally across 170 markets with fast, reliable Starlink internet. We're building AI compute capacity at scale faster than anyone else, we believe. And we're significantly improving our AI models, most notably with the release of Grok 4.5 last month. And now I'll dive into each of those topics separately. So with Starship, we completed 2 successful flights of Starship V3 in the past 90 days. Flight 13 demonstrated core capabilities necessary to achieve an orbital mission and return to Starbase for catch. And on Flight 14 will be our first flight to fly our version 3 Starlink satellites, our communication satellites, to operational orbit. We will try to actually catch the first and the second stage of Starlink V3 this year, and we could possibly catch the ship as soon as the next flight. It's difficult to actually explain to most people just the incredible significance of Starship. And I think perhaps describing it in terms of tonnage to orbit is a good way to appreciate the magnitude of the impact Starship will have on the future of civilization. So right now, we deliver, call it roughly 2,500 tons a year to orbit via Falcon. And this is a big number by normal standards. The rest of the world, I think, delivers around 300 tons. So we deliver 80 to 90% of total Earth mass to orbit per year with Falcon. Now with Starship, our aspirations, and I think we will achieve these aspirations, are to deliver well over 1 million tons to orbit per year, and probably ultimately 10 million tons per year. So this is not like if you had a chart where you plotted things, you would need a very, very big table to put the chart on to see, to even see any of our competitors on that chart, and to make that, if our next biggest competitor was 1 pixel high on the bar chart, you would still need a very big bar chart to represent the SpaceX Starship vehicle.
That is the key point. The heat shield is important. The catch attempt is important, but the real story is the scale where Falcon is already strong, but Starship is at a different level. More tons to orbit, and it can actually deploy much more satellites. You can actually do more missions because of reusability, and it eventually lowers the cost over time. That is why Starship matters financially. Now, the next question is simple. What does SpaceX do with all that capacity? And the answer is Starlink. This may be the biggest claim in the whole call. Not better internet, not faster internet, a majority of the world's internet. Listen in how Elon explains how big this can become.
Regarding Starlink, it's also worth just noting that the Starlink V3 satellite is about an order of magnitude more capable than the Starlink V2 satellite, was already a very capable satellite. And we expect to launch about an order of magnitude more Starlink V3 satellites. So that would mean a roughly two order of magnitude increase in the delivered bandwidth. Even if our monetization per bit dropped by a factor of 10, that would still mean a 10x increase in the revenue of Starlink. So I think people are really underestimating Starlink here. So this is a big deal. It's kind of hard for people to wrap their minds around this, but like it's not out of the question that at some point Starlink will deliver a majority of the world's internet, at least in countries where we're allowed to operate, which is the vast majority of countries. So this is important to bear in mind, and it's not in like the infinity future. It's less than 10 years.
Wow, that's not a small statement. If Starlink gets anywhere close to that, we're not talking about niche internet product. We're talking about global communications infrastructure. More satellite means more capacity. More capacity means more bandwidth, and it means more ways to make money. Consumers, airlines, governments, ships, remote areas. But then the call moves into AI. And now we get to Grok. This part is easy to underestimate. Elon is not just listing model versions here. He's making a bigger claim that Grok can actually learn from SpaceX data. Here's the AI part of the call.
Regarding AI, we're making rapid progress on Grok, because Grok 4.5 was a huge improvement, and we have Grok 4.6 coming out probably next week, and then Grok 4.7 is about 3 or 4 weeks from today. And we expect the cadence of AI development to improve dramatically. And then with Grok 5, which should be out before the end of this year, we will be incorporating the entire corpus of SpaceX data, basically all the data that SpaceX has ever produced, which is a tremendous amount over the course of a quarter century, will be incorporated into Grok training. And we think this will make Grok by far the best engineer. So these are all like very, very big things. In addition, of course, we are providing compute to others, and we are building and deploying compute, I think faster, or our rate of growth certainly is faster than anyone else. And our efficiency of compute deployment, I think, is also the highest. So we expect to end this year with over 2 gigawatts of compute, and probably our cumulative compute online by the end of next year will be several times higher. So it may, let's say, be closer to 10 gigawatts of compute than 5 gigawatts of compute.
I love the different businesses within SpaceX, but AI is something which is close to my heart. And so this naturally becomes important for me. This is not about SpaceX trying to build a chatbot. It's about the engineering knowledge that SpaceX possesses. Think about the launch data, failure, design decisions, hard lessons that actually Grok can learn from. And suddenly, AI becomes more than a product, it becomes an engineering advantage. Next, into this video, we'll look at the SpaceX numbers that they reported. This is where the story gets real. Great vision is one thing, but revenue, losses, EBITDA tell us what exactly is going on. Here are the headline numbers on your screen, but let's listen in from the CFO as he explains these numbers to us.
We demonstrated strong results in Q2. Revenue growth accelerated across every segment. We narrowed our net losses by nearly half, and on a year-over-year basis, and we grew adjusted EBITDA meaningfully faster than revenue. Importantly, we significantly strengthened the balance sheet through our IPO and inaugural investment-grade bond offering. The combination of our global launch leadership, recurring Starlink revenue, and rapid growth in AI infrastructure continues to drive improved operating leverage. Now I'll walk through the financials for each segment. For the space segment, revenue grew 55% sequentially and 29% year-over-year to $962 million, driven by a higher number of larger customer launches and a favorable customer mix. Segment costs and expenses rose $389 million year-over-year, and we continued to accelerate R&D investments in our Starship program. Starship aims to quadruple payload capacity and reduce launch costs by 10 times compared to our Falcon 9 rocket, unlocking significant capabilities across all of our business segments. We continue to make progress building the infrastructure required to support thousands of Starship launches per year, including accelerating Raptor and launch vehicle production, the build-out of our gigabays, and making significant progress towards activating multiple launch pads at Starbase and in Cape Canaveral, at Pad 39A and Pad 37. Space adjusted EBITDA was a loss of $205 million for the quarter, primarily reflecting these higher R&D expenses.
And so there are two stories here. First, the growth is very strong. Revenue was 7.8 billion, which is up 92%. Adjusted EBITDA was 3.5, which is up 191%. But there is another side to this. The company still lost 541 million, and the capex is still huge. The segment view makes it clearer. Connectivity is the profit engine. AI is scaling fast, and space is still investment heavy. That sets up the biggest number in the call. And now I want to get to the number that changes the conversation. 100 billion plus annual revenue run rate. That is not a normal earnings call phrase. That is platform scale language. And when you thought that this couldn't be bigger, Elon goes even bigger. $1 trillion revenue vision. You just don't want to miss this. Here is that moment.
As Brett mentioned, we are expecting to reach 100 billion plus ARR in December of this year. And it's probably also worth mentioning that our internal projections for reaching $1 trillion in revenue, not ARR, but revenue, have moved up from 2031 to 2030. So prior to the IPO, the financial projections we had were reaching $1 trillion in revenue in 2031. We now expect that to be in 2030, and there's a non-zero chance of that being in 2029.
Oh boy, that just blew my mind. This is where the frame changes. $100 billion run rate is one thing, $1 trillion in revenue is another level. At that point, investors stop asking if SpaceX is only a space company. They start asking if SpaceX is becoming into one of the biggest infrastructure companies in the world. And then the call goes even further out. Now, this part sounds like a science fiction. Robots on the moon, factories on the moon, a Mars accelerator, which is much bigger space company. But this is important because it shows how SpaceX thinks. Here is the long-term vision from Elon.
What may seem the far future, but will come faster than you think. Using robots on the moon to scale up manufacturing on the moon, which I know it sounds like super sci-fi right now, but it's going to happen. Will enable us to build the mass accelerator on the moon. And if you have a mass accelerator on the moon and and you have solar and radiator production on the moon, you can. I know this sounds totally nuts, but you can probably scale to 1,000 times the economy of Earth in terms of intelligence launched to space, but probably, maybe even 1,000,000 times. So, we are going to land a lot of tonnage on the moon. We're going to build the factories on the moon. The robots will be helpful with that. And then it's like, well, how much intelligence would you like as we, grow towards being a Kardashev 2 scale civilization?
Let me just share some of my thoughts. This is not about next quarter. This is not about near-term earnings. This is about the operating system that SpaceX is about to become. It has lowered the launch costs, which actually enables them to put more mass into orbit and more automation, of course. So, this means more production beyond Earth. That is the long-term vision. Now we can tie everything together. Let me just paint the complete picture for you. This is the whole bull case thesis. Starship lowers the launch cost. Lower launch cost helps Starlink. Starlink creates a cash flow, and cash flow funds AI and infrastructure. AI may improve engineering, and all of this supports the next layer of growth. The bull case is the entire system, not one product, not one rocket, the entire ecosystem. Now, let's be fair. The opportunity is immense, but so are the risks. There is execution risk. Rockets, satellite, AI, and lunar infrastructure all have to work. There is capital risk. We all know the spending is massive. And then the timeline risk. The story can move much faster than proof. So here's the verdict. The bull case is powerful. Starship bends the cost curve. Starlink scales recurring revenue. AI creates another growth engine. But the risks are real. Execution is hard, spending is high, and expectations are enormous. My final key takeaway is simple. SpaceX is building a launch infrastructure, an internet infrastructure, also an AI infrastructure, and maybe one day a lunar infrastructure. If it works, the upside is extraordinary. But if the execution slips, the risk is enormous. Let me know in the comment section below which part of the roadmap you believe in the most: Starship, Starlink, Grok, or the moon manufacturing. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who you think will benefit from this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.